Have you ever noticed how tasks that once seemed effortless, standing up from a chair, climbing a short flight of stairs, or even carrying your groceries, have slowly become more taxing? It doesn't happen all at once. The changes are subtle, creeping up year after year. By the time most people reach their 70s or 80s, they've unknowingly lost up to 50% of their muscle mass. This condition, known as sarcopenia, is one of the most overlooked threats to healthy aging, and yet it affects tens of millions globally. And here's the hard truth. This silent thief doesn't just rob you of strength, it steals your independence, mobility, and confidence. But here's what most people don't know. Sarcopenia is not inevitable. That's right. Muscle loss with age isn't just about getting older. It's also about how you live, move, and nourish your body. In fact, a growing body of scientific evidence has revealed that some individuals in their 70s and 80s retain muscle function, balance, and agility comparable to those decades younger. These super-agers can climb mountains, play sports, and live fully independent lives, not because they're lucky or genetically gifted, but because they've adopted habits proven to maintain and even rebuild muscle well into old age. Wouldn't you like to be one of them? To move without fear, walk without assistance, and stay strong for the people who matter most? The good news is, you can. With the right knowledge and small, consistent actions, you can slow down, stop, or even reverse the process of muscle decline. And you don't need extreme workouts or fancy supplements. You just need to understand the core principles that science and superagers already know. In this in-depth guide, I'll walk you through the most effective, research-backed strategies that my patients and I have used for years to combat sarcopenia. These aren't gimmicks. They're medically sound, deeply practical, and most importantly, transformative. If you're ready to take control of your strength, mobility, and independence as you age, then read on. Your future self will thank you. Habit 7. Progressive resistance training. The cornerstone of lifelong strength. Among all the interventions available to combat age-related muscle loss, none is as consistently effective or as underutilized as progressive resistance training, PRT. As a longtime physician specializing in geriatric health, I've seen countless older adults reclaim their strength, balance, and independence through structured resistance programs. And yet, many seniors still believe that lifting weights is too dangerous or unnecessary for their age. This belief is not only outdated, it's potentially harmful. PRT works on a simple but powerful principle. Challenging your muscles slightly beyond what they're used to, over time, prompts the body to adapt by building more strength and mass. The key is not lifting heavy right away, but starting with manageable loads and gradually increasing intensity. This can mean adding more repetitions, more weight, or simply increasing the time under tension. The benefits of this habit go far beyond appearance. Clinical studies have shown that older adults who engage in PRT twice a week can increase their muscle mass by an average of 3.3 pounds and boost their strength by 35% within just 12 weeks. Even if they've never exercised before, these gains lead to tangible improvements: easier stair climbing, better balance, fewer falls, and the ability to carry out daily tasks independently. Importantly, compound movements like squats, rows, deadlifts, and chest presses activate multiple muscle groups at once. This not only makes workouts more efficient, but also stimulates a greater hormonal response, which is critical for preserving muscle and bone density. Equally vital is the eccentric phase of movement, the lowering part of an exercise, which places high tension on muscles with less joint stress. Older adults benefit greatly from this focus, as it promotes strength without aggravating arthritis or old injuries. Contrary to fears, resistance training, when done with proper technique, rest, and supervision if needed, is extremely safe for older adults. In fact, not doing it is far riskier. Neglecting resistance work leads to progressive frailty, increased fall risk, and eventual dependence. Start small. Bodyweight squats, resistance bands, or light dumbbells. The most important step is simply to begin. Over time, this one habit can drastically change the way you age, giving you the strength not just to survive, but to thrive. Habit 6. Preserving neuromuscular connections. Rewiring strength from brain to muscle. One of the lesser-known but critically important aspects of maintaining muscle strength as we age lies not just in the muscle itself, but in the communication between the brain and the muscle. This connection happens at what's called the neuromuscular junction, NMJ, the point where nerve signals activate muscle contractions. With age, these junctions gradually degrade, which leads to slower reaction times, reduced coordination, and weaker muscle engagement. In clinical settings, I've seen seniors with preserved muscle mass still struggle with basic movements simply because the signal isn't getting through efficiently. Fortunately, neuromuscular decline isn't inevitable, and research shows that we can actively preserve, and in some cases restore, these vital connections through specific activities. Movements that demand precision, rhythm, and coordination, such as Tai Chi, ballroom dancing, table tennis, or pickleball, force the brain to engage more deeply with the body. These aren't just hobbies, they're neuromuscular training tools. In fact, a 2020 study found that older adults participating in coordination-based activities twice a week preserved 31% more neuromuscular junction integrity compared to peers who only walked or lifted weights. Moreover, supporting the nervous system through targeted nutrients like acetyl L-carnitine, alpha-lipoic acid, and benfotiamine, a form of vitamin B1, has been shown to protect and enhance neurotransmission. These supplements help preserve the health of nerve pathways and maintain signal strength to muscles. Additionally, vagus nerve stimulation through simple daily breathing exercises, like box breathing, inhale for 4 seconds, hold, exhale, hold, can enhance parasympathetic nervous system activity. This boosts overall nerve-muscle communication and improves motor response. In essence, maintaining youthful movement isn't just about lifting weights, it's about keeping your internal wiring sharp. By training both the body and the brain, you maintain not only strength, but control. Habit 5. Focusing on micronutrient intake. The hidden keys to muscle longevity. While protein often takes center stage in discussions about muscle preservation, it's the micronutrients behind the scenes, those essential vitamins and minerals working quietly in the background, that can make or break your progress. In my clinical experience, I've seen many older adults hit a plateau in muscle strength, not because of a lack of protein or exercise, but due to subtle deficiencies in micronutrients that no one was looking for. Take magnesium, for example. This mineral is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions, many of which directly affect muscle contraction, nerve signaling, and energy metabolism. Yet, over 70% of seniors are deficient in magnesium, often due to poor dietary intake and age-related changes in absorption. The result? More cramps, slower recovery, weaker contractions, and an overall sense of fatigue. I recommend increasing intake through foods like dark leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and legumes, or supplementing with well-absorbed forms such as magnesium glycinate or magnesium threonate. Then there's creatine, long known for its use among athletes, but just as beneficial for aging adults. A daily dose of 3 to 5 grams has been shown to increase muscle mass, strength, and even cognitive performance in older individuals, beyond what exercise alone can achieve. Another overlooked powerhouse is methylated vitamin B12. As stomach acid production decreases with age, and especially in those on medications like proton pump inhibitors or metformin, B12 absorption becomes impaired. This affects nerve conduction and energy production, both of which are critical to muscle function. Supplementing with methylcobalamin, the bioactive form of B12, is often more effective for seniors than the synthetic versions found in typical multivitamins. In short, micronutrients are not optional, they're foundational. Addressing even minor deficiencies can unlock strength, reduce fatigue, and support graceful aging. Habit 4. Managing chronic inflammation. Silencing the silent saboteur of muscle health. If there is one invisible force quietly sabotaging your leg strength, mobility, and overall health as you age, it is chronic low-grade inflammation, what researchers now call inflammaging. This persistent low-level inflammation is not the dramatic swelling you might see after an injury. Rather, it's a stealthy, cellular process that slowly eats away at your muscle fibers, disrupts healing, and accelerates the aging process. In my years of clinical practice, I've come to view managing inflammation as a cornerstone of muscular longevity, just as critical as nutrition or exercise. Here's what many overlook. Inflammation blocks the anabolic signals, those vital messages your body sends in response to protein and exercise that say, build more muscle. Without effective inflammation control, you could eat a perfect diet and follow a solid workout plan, yet still lose muscle mass 3 times faster, as shown in research from Tufts University. The difference between someone who climbs stairs into their 80s and someone who struggles at 70 often comes down to how well their body controls inflammation. So how do super-agers do it? First, they prioritize high-quality sleep. Sleep is when your body clears out inflammatory markers and repairs tissues. A consistent bedtime, sleeping in complete darkness, and getting at least 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep each night can reduce inflammatory cytokines by up to 40%. Second, they focus on gut health. Why? Because an unhealthy gut microbiome is a key trigger of systemic inflammation. Super-agers aim for diversity in plant-based foods. 30 or more different types of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds per week. And they regularly include fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, or kimchi. These introduce beneficial bacteria and feed the existing microbiome, keeping the gut barrier strong and inflammation low. Third, they're strategic about exercise intensity. Rather than overdoing high-impact activities, They maintain moderate daily movement with occasional bursts of intensity. This balance prevents the inflammation that often accompanies chronic overexertion. Finally, they lean on anti-inflammatory nutrients, omega-3 fatty acids, 2-3 grams daily, curcumin from turmeric, and polyphenol-rich foods like berries, green tea, and olive oil. Clinical studies confirm that this combination can reduce inflammatory markers by up to 29% within 12 weeks. Inflammation may be silent, but your muscles hear it loud and clear. By controlling it, you're not just reducing pain, you're preserving strength, balance, and independence. Habit 3. Optimizing vitamin D levels. The underrated key to muscular strength in aging. Among all the nutrients that contribute to muscle health, vitamin D stands out as one of the most powerful and most commonly overlooked elements. As a physician deeply involved in geriatric care and musculoskeletal research, I can confidently say that if there's one simple, evidence-backed action that could make a profound difference in the lives of aging individuals, it's correcting vitamin D deficiency. Too often dismissed as a bone vitamin, vitamin D is in fact deeply intertwined with muscle performance, coordination, and fall prevention. In medical literature, vitamin D has earned the nickname the muscle vitamin because it acts directly on vitamin D receptors, VDRs, found in muscle tissue. These receptors, when activated by sufficient vitamin D levels, trigger pathways responsible for muscle protein synthesis, strength, and neuromuscular coordination. Unfortunately, studies show that over 80% of older adults have insufficient levels, a silent epidemic that undermines not just bone integrity, but also leg strength, balance, and mobility. Consider a landmark study published in JAMA Internal Medicine. Seniors with optimal vitamin D levels had 25% greater muscle strength, faster reflexes, and better balance than those with deficiencies. These are not just numbers. These are real-life capabilities that determine whether someone can confidently rise from a chair or risks falling with every step. In practice, I've seen countless patients regain strength and reduce fall frequency simply by normalizing their vitamin D. Take Mr. Raymond, a 74-year-old patient of mine who frequently complained of leg weakness and fatigue. Lab results showed his vitamin D level at just 17 UJs, well below the optimal threshold. With a tailored regimen of 2,000 IU of vitamin D3 daily, combined with dietary support from salmon, eggs, and fortified dairy, his levels rose above 40 IU/L within 2 months. The change? He went from avoiding stairs to walking 2 flights daily with confidence. It's important to note that vitamin D works best in synergy with vitamin K2, which helps guide calcium into bones rather than soft tissues like arteries. That's why I often recommend pairing vitamin D3 with K2-rich foods like natto or certain cheeses, or taking a combined supplement. In short, optimizing your vitamin D isn't just about avoiding deficiency. It's about actively protecting your independence, your balance, and your strength. Habit 2. Strategic protein timing. Nourishing muscles when they need it most. In the clinical management of aging and sarcopenia, one of the most overlooked aspects isn't just how much protein older adults consume, but when they consume it. As a physician who has worked extensively with geriatric patients, I've seen time and again that even those who meet their daily protein goals still experience muscle loss and weakness. The reason? An often ignored metabolic hurdle called anabolic resistance, the reduced ability of older muscles to efficiently synthesize protein into muscle tissue. To put it simply, the aging body doesn't utilize protein the way it used to. While a younger individual may build muscle easily from a single high-protein meal, older adults require more strategic timing. Emerging research, including findings published in the Journal of Nutrition, suggests that evenly distributing protein intake across meals, roughly 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein per meal, can boost muscle protein synthesis by up to 25%, compared to loading all your protein at dinner. Unfortunately, most seniors fall into a counterproductive eating pattern. A light or carbohydrate-dominant breakfast, toast or cereal, a modest lunch, a salad or soup, and a protein-heavy dinner. This pattern leaves long gaps where the body isn't being fed the necessary building blocks for muscle repair and growth, allowing catabolism, muscle breakdown, to dominate. Let me give you a practical example. One of my patients, Judith, age 77, was frustrated by ongoing fatigue and muscle weakness despite eating what she considered a healthy diet. After reviewing her food diary, we realized she was only consuming about 10 grams of protein before 5 p.m. We adjusted her routine: eggs or Greek yogurt at breakfast, lentils or tuna at lunch, and lean meat at dinner. Within 8 weeks, Judith not only felt stronger, but also reported improved balance and endurance. Strategic protein timing isn't about eating more. It's about eating smarter. By feeding your muscles consistently throughout the day, you give your body a steady supply of amino acids needed for repair and regeneration. This is especially critical as you age and your body's efficiency declines. So remember, muscle preservation doesn't just happen in the gym. It begins at the breakfast table. Habit 1. Embracing hormetic stress. The science of strengthening through challenge. In my decades of clinical practice and research, I've come to appreciate an intriguing paradox. Sometimes, the key to building a stronger, more resilient body lies in controlled discomfort. This concept, known as hormesis, refers to the body's ability to adapt positively to low-level stressors, emerging stronger in the process. While chronic, unrelenting stress wreaks havoc on our systems, short-term, intentional exposure to specific physical challenges has been shown to initiate powerful cellular defense mechanisms, especially in aging muscles. Superagers, those vibrant individuals in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s who maintain exceptional physical function, often practice some form of hormetic stress without even realizing its biological sophistication. Take, for example, cold exposure. A simple act like finishing your shower with 30 to 60 seconds of cold water may sound uncomfortable, but it serves a profound physiological purpose. Cold activates brown adipose tissue, which increases mitochondrial activity, the very powerhouses that generate energy in muscle cells. Additionally, cold exposure boosts adiponectin, a hormone that protects muscles from atrophy, especially in aging individuals whose muscle recovery naturally slows. Heat stress offers similar benefits. Regular use of saunas, 4 to 7 times a week, as shown in a long-term Finnish study, has been linked to up to 40% less muscle loss over a decade. The reason? Heat stimulates the production of heat shock proteins, which act as cellular repair agents, patching damaged muscle tissue and preventing breakdown. These proteins are crucial, especially for older adults who are more prone to inflammation and slower healing times. What makes hormetic stress so unique is its accessibility and efficiency. It doesn't require hours at the gym or expensive interventions. It only asks for brief, intentional exposure to stressors that challenge your system just enough to provoke a response, not overwhelm it. Like a vaccine for your muscles, these mild doses of stress prime your body for longevity. So if you're serious about preserving strength and mobility as you age, consider incorporating hormetic stress into your weekly routine. Whether it's a cold rinse, a 15-minute sauna session, or a mindful breath-holding exercise, these practices are scientifically grounded tools that can help you age not just gracefully, but powerfully. Personal insights and conclusion. Turning knowledge into lasting strength. In my decades of clinical practice, few things are more rewarding than witnessing firsthand the transformation that occurs when older adults commit to preserving their strength. I recall one of my patients, Mr. Thompson, a 78-year-old retired school teacher who arrived at my office frustrated by his declining stamina and a growing sense of physical dependency. Together, we devised a regimen combining progressive resistance training with carefully timed protein intake. Over the course of just 6 months, his trajectory shifted remarkably. Not only did he regain measurable muscle mass, but he also reported a boost in daily energy, better posture, and perhaps most importantly, a renewed sense of self-confidence. Simple tasks like getting out of a chair or climbing stairs, once difficult, became routine again. Similarly, Mrs. Rodriguez, age 82, had long suffered from stiffness in her joints and slow recovery after physical activity. She began incorporating sauna sessions 3 times a week, following the hormetic stress principle that encourages cellular resilience through mild stressors. The difference was astonishing. Her flexibility improved, muscle soreness diminished, and she often remarked that she felt 10 years younger. These stories are not anomalies. They are living proof that the science behind these habits translates into real, functional change. The overarching message is clear. Frailty is not an unavoidable part of aging. Yes, time progresses and the body changes, but we have a profound degree of control over how those changes unfold. Through these 7 science-backed habits, ranging from resistance training and protein timing to inflammation control and micronutrient optimization, we can not only halt, but even reverse the silent erosion of muscle strength. The sooner these practices are implemented, the more impactful the results. But even if you're starting later in life, it's never too late. The human body is astonishingly responsive when given the proper support. Aging, then, becomes not a slow surrender, but a chapter of empowerment, where autonomy, resilience, and vitality are reclaimed with purpose. You hold the pen. Now is the time to write your strongest chapter yet.